Whew, all right, all right. So boys, that was a good start. For first dragon, first herald, big dokes unlocked. Good there. Could control those mid game dragons a little bit better, but your picks and your side lanes were great. They're just swell. Now Coach Juves is gonna be calling in any second now. I want everyone to be on their best behavior. Okay. I know he's still in Australia, but no phones. I'm watching you, Dokla. Um, Other than that, oh wait, looks like he's calling in now.
Guys, good
All
first
right,
game.
Coach
Good first
Juves.
game. Good hustle. Well done to everyone. 1-0 up. Big rivalry, TSM CLG. So we can't rest on our laurels, right? There's another game to play. We want the 2-0 1-1's not for us. So you know, take a breather, but we're gonna get back into it, okay? Dokla, I want to see the aggression from you, okay? I want you to make him feel like he's the third best top laner in his family. All right? Roastorn. I mean, the leasing performance was a good one. But you know, maybe it's time we shift it up. They don't know what's going to come from you. We've just got such a good dynamic coming out of the jungle at the moment. In the mid lane, takeover didn't take over anything that game, so just keep that one up. You know, keep him pinned to the lane and a little bit of a skill check here and there. That's all good. Prismal and Breezy. I mean, what a 2v2. What a dynamic. Game 1 was yours. Game 2 is going to be even more of a domination. You just got to go out there, do your thing, take your picks. And there's only one thing I want you guys to remember. We are Counter Logic Gaming. We are the kings. We are CLG. On 3, CLG. 1, 2, 3, CLG. Let's go.
And the internet connection. I think Coach Juves, his energy just disconnected all of us. Okay. Well, thank you, Juves, for that one. That was great. Now, remember, guys, what Coach Juves just said. You know, win lane, win game. It's simple, it's easy, and we got this. Now, we're going to send it over a short break here before we're back with the casters for pick and ban, game number 2.
I
right.
love that.
That was a good time.
That was a
That was a good time.
great speech out of Jeeves, honestly. God, there's so much flame. I don't even know where to begin. That was an excellent halftime show. Not gonna lie. That was great.
If that does not want to make you run through a brick wall, I don't know what does. So maybe that's why
Wait,
CLGs, they just get the run through a brick wall speech every single game, and then they just go ham on the
You don't
riff.
just run through brick walls normally?
No, sorry, I'm out on that one. I do esports, not football.
That could explain a lot with me then.
Well, TSM, if they want to come back in the series, they're going to have to get through the brick wall of CLG on their own. As Mad Magical, that game won. I think, what Hughes was saying about, Doko really taking it to Viper. We had a little bit of help for the team, but we definitely saw that shine in the first game as Dokla really made sure that Viper was not able to ever get active on the
The
Rift.
thing that impresses me with Dokla is that was one gank, and from there, he never gave up control. He fully exerted all the pressure he could possibly squeeze out of that top lane from one singular gank.
Comes to like what Dokla was able to do with that. I mean, just the constant freezes, the fact that, and that is a team effort, right? Like if you're freezing top and you don't see Camille, Palafox has to play back. And so the way that Dokla was able to kind of communicate that with his team and the way that COG was able to play around that as well, do want to give credit. There was good League of Legends going on between that top side. And meanwhile, on the bot side, Breezy picked up a double kill, and him and Prismal, I mean, this is a duo where they play together for a split on 100 Thieves Academy in 2020. I think that a lot of people, while we're doing the on Gromp, no crab, and all that, like, you can kind of see that these two, it really feels like, I know from speaking with Prismal, like, he feels like they've both improved a little bit since that last time, and they're really looking to show what they can do as a team once again. And hey, we're seeing that hit the Rift early as I know that, it's not a dream when your AD goes down and the support gets both kills, but hey, we'll chalk it up to Breezy as, having fun, making support look a little bit easy too.
where it's like you said, maybe if you really looked for it, you could look for like one mistake, but Rose Thorn looked great on the jungle path thing. He was exerting a lot of control, and I talked about how the Poppy, a lot of times with Poppy, you would need to be in the right place, right time to make sure that you're just neutralizing your opponent. Well, Rose Thorn was outpacing Hyper, so even if Hyper was nearby in the right quadrant, he was about 5 steps too late to help out with anything.
Yeah, if Poppy's not there to answer Jarvan, I mean, you don't clear quite as fast. You don't have the same gank potential yourself. So I think that's an appropriate call out there. I know that Peanut, of course, being our Poppy enthusiast especially, it really feels like, when that pick is played, its job is to kind of counter gank everything. Because if you cancel the flag and drag, he's like a free kill, especially pre-6. And yeah, TSM not able to put that together. And I'm curious to see what happens for game 2 and if we get any switch-ups coming in from them, because I feel like I gotta believe these guys have a couple different strats up their sleeves with the bonus games that we've seen from them in Lock-In. I know that they actually have a lot of different directions that they can go, but I am curious if that ends up being, like an early pick Tryndamere, so they can flex that, or Corki, anything like that.
Yeah, and I hear that we actually have our host back. We have Kangas all ready to join us here on the desk to help us break down this game. So, Steve, how's it going? How's everything been on your side?
Oh, things are good. Things are looking good. Sorry, I had to run and take care of something real quick, so I couldn't be ready for this between game segment. Sorry that your stream was just watching nothing for a little bit there. But thanks for filling in, guys. What a game 1 from CLG Academy. The Hyper jungle matchup went to the Poppy pick, and I immediately in my head I was thinking, we saw this in Lock-In. Blabber absolutely destroyed a J4 on the Poppy. Not to what Magical was saying in the game, which was all reactive plays, but actually being proactive. But we did not see that level of dominance coming in from Hyper today. Now, Cubby, I know that we highlighted the matchup of the top lane going into the match, and that was also the big area that I saw CLG just run away with it, because Dokla just got massively ahead. What do we think for game 2? How does TSM respond to this one in this best of 2 series?
Well, it looks like the sides are going to be the same. So counter pick top, I don't think is going to be an option again or for the side of TSM. And I want to see if they maybe give Hyper more of a playmaker. I think that I really don't like giving away Thresh Jarvan 1-2. I think that if you have both lethal tempo ADs up, you can just pick Thresh first. We saw that yesterday as that happened, and I think it's one of the limitations and potentially a good read from CLG as Yurson. We talked a lot about how good Yurson is on his champions, but that is a narrower pool, and that pool does not include Thresh, right? That's the Leona, the Nautilus, the Rel, the Alistar. That's how he played more than 85% of his games in summer. So I think the fact that CLG were able to take those two champs and just build a comp around it with two, big backline carries, I think it made things really difficult for TSM early.
Yeah, we haven't even touched on the breezy double kill in lane. That was absolutely insane when that happened. When I was like, oh, they're both going to die, right? Like, this is huge for TSM. Jinx is going to get fed, run away with it. But breezy somehow hits every ability onto Instinct and then also gets a kill onto your side. So, yeah, maybe getting breezy off of that Thresh, if anything, that could help out TSM. But I'm hearing that we're ready for pick and ban, so we won't have to wait much longer to see what TSM Academy's strategy is. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you, Steve. It's always good having you back, even if it was only for a short time. We'll see it in the next halftime show in the next series. But for now, we got to look at how this series is going to go. And I look at TSM, I look at CLG, and honestly, I got to say, it's like there are definitely some things that TSM are doing well, but CLG are just outclassing them in many ways. And I wonder if that really comes down to the draft, because so far in this season, TSM has played blue, like they've chosen blue side most of their games, but they've lost every single time on blue side. They have only found victories on red.
Wow, that is an advanced statistics. I did not pull that one earlier, Bad Magical. I was not ready for that. That spice you're throwing at me.
That's why I got the notebook, man.
That's curious.
That's what the notebook's for.
I have one too, but those are not the stats I'm looking for. Usually it's like, all right, like who's playing what champ.
See, this is why you have the notebooks where you write all of the pick bans in the past and which side they are. So all I had to do was literally just look back at how the games have gone and go, hey, wait, they've only won red side. That's interesting. And now they're up on blue side, and they grab that Jinx again. In fact, if you look at the bans, and they are the same for both teams. First 3 picks, exactly the same across the board. I'm wondering if Hyper just goes back onto the Poppy, because I think the Poppy was a fine pick, but I just feel like one of the problems was the top side. The Kali is something that I actually like to see them lock in.
Okay, something a little bit different here for the side of TSM is that is a flex pick, can be played by both Viper and Takeover. That's the shift. I still really don't like giving up Thresh Jarvan. I think this combo is so good at roaming together, and when you're playing that into an immobile carry, if you know, Instinct doesn't have flash at any point of the game, it is so easy for the side of CLG to punish, as will be a potential switch up coming up from CLG, but instead they end up opting for the Aphelios. Like the LeBlanc cover, as that is a good matchup into the Akali in case that thing goes mid. But at the moment, looks like TSM might take away some of the solo laners that are a little bit stronger into Akali. And on the side of CLG, they can take away some more junglers from Hyper if they don't want to deal with the Poppy again, especially.
Yeah, the Poppy could be something they decide to ban away. The Trendmere is another one that they can easily make sure that is going to allow that flexibility for Takeover, for Viper, to say, hey, you don't know exactly what's going to go on for our team.
And that auction tells me that the Akali might be heading to the top side.
Good.
As there will be one jungler taken away from Hyper. Paying some respect to the Viego. And honestly, with Fiona and Akali, you can get kills early for Viego, so I like the fact they took that one away.
Interesting here, Cubby, seeing that it's going to be essentially 2 top lane bans coming in from the side of TSM with the Renekton band as well. But I'm looking to see what they want to grab for that jungle role. And the Poppy's still open. But another one that we haven't really seen, we've seen out of Rosethorn and we've seen out of a couple other junglers, is Trundle. Trundle is one of these picks that kind of just gets skipped over in my mind. And I personally like seeing him on many teams with what he's able to really do to help facilitate the rest of his team.
Something that it can be played in the Jarvan.
It can. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing, but it's something that I still like. It's something that can skirmish with him early. You don't really necessarily have to look for the ganks. You're just looking to more fight against Jarvan.
I do like Trundle a lot, but yeah, I think in the LB, Poppy's actually really reasonable. Yeah. And I'm kind of surprised that CLG didn't ban that out, considering the fact that they did end up locking in that LeBlanc. As I think is a better setup now for TSM, taking the Poppy into both LeBlanc and Jarvan, and then having this Victor as well. This is good protection for their big backline, and I'm curious to see how Dokla is going to counter and punish this time.
Does this flex top lane, though? That's actually what I'm kind of looking at here. Do you put the Akali into LeBlanc, or do you put the Victor into LeBlanc?
You put the Victor mid, as I think that's got to be the move. Victor in a long lane doesn't deal with that well.
I mean, he used to be pretty standard in the top lane for a bit there, and that's the only reason why. Is I look at Viper, and he's a player who'll pull so much stuff out of his bag of tricks. You never really know. The marksmen are what he's kind of known for in that top lane, but he has such a varied champion pool that he really makes it so that it's hard to exactly guess.
So, as we're about to leave this screen, I'd like to direct your attention to Dokla and Palafox summoner spells each, as it's looking like it's another no TP game. Now, CLG did this in their second game yesterday against Immortals, and it was a heal for Orianna in a matchup where she could have used it. I could also see why Dokla didn't take TP because it was on the Shen. I'm a bit more surprised this game that is the case, and feels like CLG is still really putting that high priority on making sure that their solo laners are winning, enabling Rosethorn to get up in the face of the enemy jungler, and then going from there.
I was kind of watching to see if that was going to be the case, if they were going to load in, and they do commit to the Exhaust for top lane and Ignite for mid lane on their sides. And like you said, it's allowing, sure, it's more for the lane phase. It's also looking at Graves. I look at Graves and how he really functions in the side lane, since we've been seeing him more as a staple top laner. And what he does, he really likes to just neutralize. He doesn't really want to let his opponent get this advantage, especially in Akali, who that's what she wants to do. She wants to get these early kills. She wants to put pressure immediately, and Graves says no.
Well, we're going to have to see if that ends up being the case as we are diving into the Rift for Game 2. And, CLG, they're looking for a 4-0 week here. That pep talk, let's see if it got to them. As it came to all of us through the stream. Gonna have to see if the players have it yet again as they look to put TSM I don't know. Take over TSM. Is that what CLG is looking to do? There's something about Viper with brothers in there. I don't know.
Are you trying to make puns now?
I'm trying to reference what we saw on the stream, Mad Magical. There's a callback.
Yeah, but taking over the game.
That wasn't me. That was Juice.
I don't know. It just seemed better when he said it.
Yeah. I'm still working on that.
You'll get there.
I appreciate the support, Mad Magical.
Don't worry. I'm always here for criticism. So
okay. Thank
looking
you.
at this right now, a nice ward placed down by CLG just to get a little bit of vision, not allowing maybe a late invade that could have potentially happened from TSM. While top lane, actually, Rosethorn and Dokla are threatening their own late invade. That ward spot.
And this is another invade from CLG where they get in with minimal scouting early. And look at Dokla stepping up, even proccing the Wolves for Rosethorn.
Wow.
I mean, Hyper just has to go to the other side of the map. And now, Hyper should have some priority in the bot lane early, given that Instinct can burn through the mana pool for the AoE rockets. But what an early investment from CLG to set up Rosethorn for success. I think Dokla did miss one creep, so that will hurt a little bit, but I still like the setup.
It's going to hurt just as much as he made Viper miss the CS right there, right? He's not getting the experience from some of these melee minions. He's forcing him off of them, so he won't hurt. It's going to be perfectly fine. They're essentially net neutral when it comes to what experience they've lost, and Dokla is still going to have that early pressure since it is the Graves into Akali.
Look at Rosethorn. He's trying to cross to make sure that he can try and contest this buff. Now, I did mention that TSM will have prio early, so they're using their bot lane to walk up here and get Hyper the second camp, which will be the enemy blue. I think Rosethorn is going to seed that, but I'm going to be curious to see if he pokes in for Gromp.
Let's see if they get spotted out returning to the bot lane, because Rosethorn might... Oh, there's the smite. Just barely in time out of Hyper to make sure that Rosethorn can't flag drag his way in for a smite steal.
He's still playing this well, though, because he is up a camp, and he's able to take the Gromp. So he's taking 2 out of the 3 camps of the side of his jungle that, would have been pressured. He also took 2 camps on the side of Hyper. So I still think Rosethorn is very far ahead in this jungle matchup. Should be able to potentially secure both crabs as well.
It's a good play coming in from Rosethorn. And this is kind of what we were talking about before. The growth...
Hyper's level 2.
Yeah,
oh,
the growth of this player. And what we've seen from Golden Guardians to now. How well he's playing in the spot lane, already looking for an early gank, but Hyper's right on the other side, and you got to be careful because Principal's pretty low, but so is Zero Sun. And then, wait, mid lane, solo kill happens for Palafox. Well, bot lane, they got a kill on Urson. The gank continuing, Hyper turns it around onto Breezy. So across the board, it's a 2-1, but TSM, they lose out on that mid lane, and that's gonna hurt.
Yo, that hook from Breezy was so good as he walked up to the wall, predicted the flash of Urson, knew that he was going to flash over that wall to create the most space, catches him out doing it. Really well done by Breezy to make sure. Ends up going down for it, but still worth it on the side for CLG, I believe. Then Palafox, the solo bolo in the mid lane too. Lane's not in the most ideal spot of all time, but I think Palafox is okay given the fact he got that first kill in the mid lane.
Exactly. The fact that he's got it frozen there too, so he's not really going to lose anything. But when we look back towards this replay, yeah, I just want to watch Breezy because that's going to be the highlight play.
Look at this positioning.
The prediction
he knows it.
is, oh my god.
I mean, once Urson moves towards that wall, like as a Thresh player, Breeze is like, all right, I got this, right? That's like the one that like you look for. In terms of prediction hooks, I'm not giving that one a 10, but we're at least gonna give that one like a 6.
Come on, man. He was.
There was only one way Urson could have went.
No, there
wasn't. Like 2 ways. It was a 50-50 guess.
It was a good hook. Come on, Breezy, you have my.
It was a good hook.
Got my vote. I love you.
Okay. I'm still salty he beat me in the game.
I think that's the real reason why you're not ranking him higher, isn't it?
At least I'm being honest about it.
Fair. I'll give you that. As we look across the map right now, Palafox having gotten that solo bolo kill takeover while that was happening in bot lane. And I was talking about that. The fact that even though, it looked bad because he was frozen right outside of the turret, since he doesn't have TP and he actually wanted to recall anyways, it's not like he lost much. In fact, he's still even on CS against Takeover. And now the wave, it was a big wave, is crashing into his turret. So he's going to get all that experience, all that CS to stay ahead of his opponent.
The interesting one is going to be on the bounce, like when Palafox hits 6 and has Ignite again. if he's able to get Takeover then, because Takeover doesn't have Flash. So for me, like if I'm on CLG and in comms right now, that is a flashing red light. Like, please go mid if Victor's trying to push out. Hyper had a nice hover there to make sure that he was safe, and Hyper might be looking for a play here.
Nice ward placed down way earlier on, spots out that Hyper's there. Gives a lot of time for Breezy and Prismal to back off and stay safe. This is something we've seen out of them. They understand how to play this Aphelios Thresh bot lane. Know that they can play back. They're going to be a lane that doesn't really want to interact too much with their opponent until the jungler shows up.
Good job of Rosethorn and CLG to deny that dragon window, as Hyper was potentially looking. It was pretty obvious with him moving up, but CLG is still trying to keep pressure on this side of the map, and now Rosethorn and Prismal, they have the timer to try and take this dragon if they'd like, and looks to not be the call for CLG, as Rosethorn maybe going to try and pick up a level, as Rosethorn, surprisingly enough, after that hot start for the Jarvan, is down level to Hyper.
Probably go for the dragon after Doko spots out Hyper on the top side of this map. You can see Rosethorn hanging around towards the top lane, maybe even wanting to grab the red buff before going onto the dragon. Or
we go for the dive where we force everyone off. And I like this, the fact Prismal's on red-white. You can do a lot of damage to turrets there, as we see Doko ult the crab. Yeah, it's sometimes just about sending a message.
Well, also, the fact that you deny that from Hyper, he could have just smited it.
Sometimes it's about sending a message, you know? And now Takeover has stand in the minion wave. He's in big trouble. No flash is what I want to see.
Not at all. The Ignite ticking down. The flash in from Dokla. He gets his own kill over Takeover.
Dokla's having a fantastic series. I mean, think back to game one. All the roams that Viper was forced to make because that wave was frozen on him. Look what Dokla did when that wave was frozen on him here, right? Viper's starting the slow push now, but when he didn't have access to the wave, he got the crab. He now nets a positive play mid for Palafox. They find another kill on Takeover, and he's able to walk back top and pick up this entire wave. Dokla is just having a great series today in that match.
A great series. He's having a great season.
Great week.
Great week, great season. I mean,
he's doing good things.
I've been going through a lot of the videos, trying to get clips for the players, and whenever I watch CLG games, about half the clips I end up pulling are just Dokla getting solo kills or being this amazing frontline player who somehow never dies. And this gives the rest of CLG so much comfort to go for things like that solo dragon out of Rosethorn. But they gotta be careful, because still, it's an Akali against a Graves, and with an Ignite ticking away on his head, they're gonna be able to get the solo kill out of Viper.
Well done by Viper. Dokla. That would have been a base timer for Viper, but Viper says, if I stay here and Dokla doesn't respect it, I can get the solo kill. Does so. Much needed for the side of TSM as Prismal gets jumped on.
He's going to be fine there. It was really nice play, though, coming in from Viper, as you said, because normally you'd expect the back to come in from an Akali, especially in that play. And Dokla, he kind of needed to respect that there is that slight possibility that Viper doesn't go for that recall. And because he didn't, he gets punished for it. So all of that talk, the hype up we're giving Dokla, we got to also hype up Viper. We didn't get to really hype him up last time just because last game, it wasn't his best performance. He got shut down early. But here, getting that solo kill over Dokla is going to give him a lot of pressure back.
Needed pressure for the side of TSM, given the fact that they really didn't have a foothold on the map until then. If you look across the lanes, right? Victor down 2 kills to this LeBlanc. Dokla was making roams across the board. And now, because TSM has a couple places that they might be able to have pressure on this top side, you can see them fishing around for this Rosethorn. Rosethorn's on the bottom side of the map. There's going to be a trade here.
Got to be careful because there's 3 members mid lane. Scares off Palafox from continuing to look for another solo kill over Takeover. But kind of as you said, there's a lot of players on the top half of the map for TSM, kind of looking to see if they can set up the Rift Herald. But this gives a lot of time for Prismal in the bot lane, getting more and more plates onto this Aphelios. He's already got a pretty sizable CS lead over Instinct, and we saw last game, Prismal on this Aphelios, how great he's able to play it. Even if Breezy was the one to get the double kills in that 2v2 skirmish, they still have an Aphelios who scales up, gets some items, and he's going to be able to hurt.
And for me, the fact that that Rift Herald was started and then abandoned at the side of TSM, but the bot lane, like, it's just more free plates over to Prismal, right? I mean, your big carry's Instinct. You got to funnel him. That's something that they are not doing a good job of as Hyper now
Damn,
ignites
Palafox
pop.
hurts right there. Good body block, though, with the steadfast present. Collateral damage helps the ignite kill off Hyper, but on the other side, Viper's now in the pit, trying to use the perfect execution. Gets one back, nearly got two, but it will be total of 2 for 1. CLG yet again winning out.
And this is all just Palafox, creating pressure, creating plays across the rift that CLG are able to follow up on because they have priority in their solo lanes. And that's really been the story of CLG in this early season.
It has, and this is why I just want to keep watching their journey and see their growth that they have as a team. Because you look at this play, it's a 3-level lead out of Palafox. I think Hyper wanted to knock the LeBlanc out, but unfortunately just got Rose Thorn.
It was a good sidestep coming out. And I mean, once again, like, you have members for CLG that are at the play first and that are already ahead in this game. Like, Takeover, yes, was able to get a laser and an ultimate down, but it's not like the victor's fed at this point of the game, and it's not like Takeover was able to do anything else and step up. So, I mean, just the way that CLG are utilizing their early tools, I think it's really been one of the bigger stories of Academy so far, and we're seeing them just in the 2v2 off this aggression. Look at Rosethorn rotating down to support this. And even if they don't get the play, they don't have to. They're just bleeding plates.
That's going to be a missed play with the flash coming in from Breezy. The Ignite ticking is going to be an instant kill, too. Rosethorn's taking a lot of damage. They got the turret on the other side coming in from Prismo, but they didn't get the kills needed. So it'll be a net neutral trade at the moment for CLG. While they have to run away, they got to fear the fact that Hyper is nearby.
Viper was casting TP in the top side, did get canceled. The fact that that turret ended up falling. 1-for-0, though. That's an instance of CLG pushing a little bit too far. They said that they were going to, some of those instances would happen early in the season, and we see one there. But I think it's still CLG coming out on top, as they're going to get a reset and hopefully get back out onto the map to try and take their second dragon of the game, as we do have Infernal. And it looks like Palafox gonna see if he can find Instinct. TSM rotating to try and fix this.
The ethereal chains does so with the heal to get a little bit of movement speed, going fishing. It's going to be Eurus on the target instead. Flag and drag knocked up as well, but that is a tanky Leona that you're having to deal with. Hyper, unfortunately, just completely bails, doesn't even want to bother to save Euruson's life.
Eurus sacrificing himself for Instinct, but Instinct also burning 2 sums in that play, Mad Magical. It's just a lot of loss of tempo for TSM, and part of it's that they don't have pressure anywhere on this map, but another part of it's them showing on waves where they just can't be showing, right? I mean, these waves, you lose that tower, it can bounce back to you. You can give up this dragon, that's okay, but the fact that TSM are trying to push up and maybe contest this, that's just a play where you have to look on the other side of the map to get something done there.
Unless you're going to have many members committed to stay behind you to keep Instinct alive, you bail off that one. I agree with you. It looked good on the surface, but they needed Hyper and Eurus to be right behind Instinct. So when you have the inevitable chase, from a LeBlanc especially, you're going to be able to kite it back and survive. But they lost the life of Eurus. They've lost out a little bit on the map, and they have to go back to the drawing board on what they're going to be able to accomplish. We see a lot of these mythics are now getting completed across the board, and it's not going to be that tank Akali build coming out of Viper.
I want to go back. You said that they have to go back to the drawing board, kind of highlight what TSM wants to do. I want to see them try and utilize Poppy to attack Palafox. It's no flash on LeBlanc. And if you time that steadfast presence well, and maybe Viper and Hyper can sync up, maybe you can find a side lane kill on Palafox, get the shutdown, and slow things down for the side of CLG. Also, if you're TSM, I think the way that they've used a couple of their teleports early have not been great, and it's really hurt them, because keep in mind, CLG, they don't have any TPs. They have no way to get across the map, right? This is just 1-3-1. We're just going to try and brute force win the side lanes. But TSM have the option and ability to make team plays. CLG will be pushing up on the map. So I want to see if CLG can control the vision to make sure that they don't give TSM the angles to make TP plays. Uh-oh, Prismal.
1v3, looking for Prismal. The flash away, perfect execution. Viper takes him down, but it's a cataclysm on top of him. He Jorgen flips over the wall, getting a lot of damage. 1v3, Hyper's doing it. He's making it work. They're going to be able to pick up the kill. It's the trade of the life of Viper, but Viper got a lot of work done there in a bad spot. Hyper might lose his life as well. It should be an even trade, but this gives TSM a lot of free time with a lot of these turrets all the while. Hyper is keeping the attention of Palafox, so that way he's not going to join the team anytime soon. Steadfast presence just to continue to buy his time. Flash away, looking for the charge.
Oh.
How are you doing this, Hyper? He's down 2 levels, but the Ignite finally finishes him off.
All right, not surprised that Hyper dies there, and you will take that for the side of TSM, even with that rocket not connecting, as Viper is the one finding the plays, trying to get his squad back in the game.
Honestly, I think this is huge. The fact that he kills Prismal here, it's 1v3. He then turns his attention to Rosethorn to kill him with the help of Hyper, sure. So that's a lot of attention they draw away from the lanes.
It is, and you're also, I mean, you're trading 2 for 2 and getting shutdowns for yourself, right? And I think that Viper, he's the one that's the strongest member on the map. I mean, especially after those kills, right? So the fact that he's the one just really forcing, saying that I know my limits, this is a Kali, this is a champion that Viper is very strong at, had some great performances on last summer as well. It's something that I think, as, you know, the most experienced member of the team, I really like the fact that it feels like he's really taking on the onus, saying, I'm the one that's going to have to play make. I'm the one that has to get my team back in this game. Maybe I have a chance that I can go for this play. Yeah, it's a 2 for 2, but I still think it pans out well for TSM as we're getting off the reset, and Viper starting the Rift Herald as TSM is going to secure shove in the mid lane here. I lied. That Rift Herald's not being started. He's just hanging out in the pit.
It's not there yet, but it'll be there soon. Don't worry.
No, it's not going to show up. It's dead.
No, come on. It's 17 minutes into the game. It's going to show up. Just have faith. Ye
Nope.
have little faith here as Dokla.
I am a Shelly enthusiast, not a Kelly enthusiast.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Right there, Dokla. It looked like an attempt coming in from TSM, but really, it's just forcing him out of these lanes. That's the biggest problem that TSM now faces. It's not necessarily fighting against CLG, the fact that they're behind in gold. A lot of these structures that remain, you can see mid lane, bot lane, really low, but still alive. And if they're able to get a lot of this gold, it's going to help them out, at least overcome this deficit they find themselves still in here at 18 minutes.
CLG, they still want to push the pace, push the tempo as Rosethorn trades his ult for a flash from Takeover. That's well worth it for the side of CLG.
You'll take that, for sure. Making it much easier for Palafox to find that assassination ability onto Palafox, especially because that Crown of the Shadowed Queen was the option for Takeover, just fearing that damage that Palafox lays down.
Oh?
No, he's good, he's good, he's good. Yeah, you know what, that's what I'm like. I believed, and again, ye of little faith, Cubby. You gotta have more faith there. I believe that Viper is gonna be fine, but I'm not so sure about Takeover here in the bot lane. He's got to be really careful. The fights continue across the map. Palafox, he was able to get a lot of attention in the bot lane, but they have to remember that Prismal is still another one of the carries, and if they're going to be able to get these kills for TSM over him, they can continue to push their leads in these lanes.
Poor job of, honestly, I think given the fact that CLG blew tools on the last wave, probably should have waited for that one and waited for Rosethorn to get in position to be able to hover, but CLG tripping up over the shoelaces a little bit as they try and run to the finish line, and TSM, that's another good punish for them as they get the mid, outer, and the dragon, slowing down that soul stacking and preventing soul point from CLG. I think that's a pretty significant win for the side of TSM in this one.
I think we have to look at what the compositions both want to do on either side. There's good front to back for both teams, but really, it's about how Palafox and how Viper are going to be able to flank. How they're going to be able to get into these backlines. Rosethorn, last cones away, Keeper's Verdict, not going to be used. Instead, it's going to be the slow flag and drag away from Rosethorn to survive. And this is why I want to go back to talking about what they want to do. And honestly, right now, Palafox is trying to assassinate Takeover all the time, but I think he just needs to start looking for angles onto someone more like Instinct as opposed to this Victor.
I think that's fair, and as Palafox, you know, this game continues, 4-1 on this LeBlanc, very far ahead. LeBlanc does turn more into that poke champion as the game goes on, and Palafox sitting at level 12, that level 2 ultimate, should help make sure that that damage is connecting in these setups, and definitely something that TSM is going to have to worry about once again as this game continues. As I think for CLG, so when you have no TPs at this state of the game, things are going to slow down a little bit as CLG can't make those big map plays to make sure they're taking 3 for O's or 4, for 1s, things like that to try and open up this Baron. I really want to see if CLG can find these skirmishes that they were able to turn their Game 2 win into yesterday. The fact that they had no TPs, but they kind of slowly skirmished their way out of it and found the 5v5s. They just did a good job of setting up their side lanes. I think it's going to be really important for CLG in this one, and see if they can navigate the fact they don't have any TPs. This is a much more difficult game for them to close, given the fact they don't have any of those.
Palafox got a little bit of damage onto Viper, but now that they've noticed this LeBlanc is in the bot lane, another play is being attempted on the top side.
Oh, Dokla.
He has the Eye of the Rift Herald, and if they can kill him, that's going to deny a charge, but a nice Lantern from Breezy keeps him alive.
Yeah, Dokla's level 14. He's like, you can't dash it on me here, Hyper. You would go down if you were going to do that.
Actually, Cubby, I kind of want to even bring that up, because just looking at the experience differentials between the two teams, that's where CLG is thriving. They've got the gold lead, 4,000 here at 21 minutes, but really having a level lead top in the jungle, in bot lane as well. A lot of things are looking pretty solid for them to set up around these skirmishes to bait in TSM.
Okay, this is an interesting start, as Prismal doesn't have the best guns to one-shot this, but maybe they want to bait.
They baited out the steadfast presence, didn't get the flag and drag combo. Instead, the Ignite is sticking on a Hyper. TP on the other side coming in from Viper, but they have to bail off of this Baron. They weren't able to pick up the kill onto Hyper, but if they can at least bait in the rest of the members of TSM, they don't have that front line anymore.
But that's fine, right? You take away one of those TPs for the side of TSM, and you have the combative summoner spells now on the side lanes. And the way the CLG now is shifting that pressure is Instinct.
Look at Palafox. He's looking for Instinct. The autos, the Ignite ticking. He barely survives, but not does mid lane. It is gone here with more gold into CLG's pockets for them to spend once they get back to base. That's why TSM don't want to let them go out too easily. They continue to chase, but they just cannot go into the hands of CLG yet.
I just love how CLG are shifting their priority, right? They start the Baron, say, all right, we want to bait TSM in, we find the chunk, then we say, you know what? Viper TP'd, can't do Baron anymore. So what do we take? Let's just drop the Rift Herald, put it mid, and take some more objectives that way. I feel like the way that CLG are kind of deploying on the map, saying, we don't have TPs, but we can try and make these plays to force them out, maybe make 1 or 2 plays, then cautiously kind of back off and do it again. It's really smart gameplay coming out of CLG.
I like it. It's what we kind of saw from them yesterday when they ran this competition in Game 2, right? They don't have the TP advantage, so they have to bait in the TPs to them. They have to make sure they waste these summoners from TSM, peel back off, then look for a target. They did that there where they peeled off, looked for Hyper, rinse and repeat. If they can get takeovers now, that's a lot of cooldowns burned by TSM that CLG can punish. And Viper, without the TP, he's got a lot of damage coming in on top of him, but Viper's still alive. He's pretty tanky in this one, despite the fact that he didn't go for the tanky build. But Palafox is not done with them. He got a lot of damage on top of him. Almost was taken down. Both of them pretty low. But the turret is really what CLG had come for.
This should enable CLG to reset, get both their solo laners back on the map to take this dragon, as once again they are looking for soul point on the mountain dragon. Helpful. Getting some extra resistances against these big damage carries as the game goes on, the likes of Jinx. And this is something we'll have to start to look out for, the fact that TSM, they are down 6k gold, but the scaling of their composition is really nice, right? You have Victor, you have Jinx. I think the two champions complement each other really well, given the gravity field and the slows you get when you fully evolve your W on Victor, which is coming up rather soon for the side of Takeover. And CLG, I think that the next, 5 to 6 minutes, they need to be careful about how they execute around these next 2 dragons to make sure they have a sound advantage, or else TSM will start to outscale them afterwards.
The thing is, CLG, I think, want to bait TSM into them. They're using these objectives more as a line to try to see if they can get TSM into their hands.
And I think a lot of this is going to be about making sure that Palafox has targets to execute. And with Hyper
so low,
below 400 HP, I really like what Prismal and Dokla just did, right? Using that brush to make sure you get poke. Maybe find takeover as he goes low.
No, he had the crown up, so it at least mitigated a lot of that initial burst coming in from Palafox. They continue to chase him back, but it is still takeover alive. The TP is still up. So there isn't going to be that easy take for CLG onto the Baron, even though they're posturing like they want to get it.
I think they are posturing to maybe force the TP out of Takeover. As once again, bleeding these TPs out, extra valuable for CLG, given the fact that CLG has none available. Will not be the case, as Takeover is going to pick up that bot wave. But I think CLG is playing out their composition really nicely. Of course, the scaling of Victor and Jinx in a team fight, definitely something that's concerning, but Palafox and Dokla, the way they're playing around this, they're just going for poke, right? They don't want the team fight. They want to get health bars low. They want to utilize their pockets to make sure that TSM can never fight them on an even footing, which is exactly what CLG needs to do. So really good play coming out of these guys.
This is where we look at the builds again. We see it's a pretty typical build coming in from Palafox, the Ludens Tempest with the Shadow Flame on top of it to mitigate a lot of the shields that could be on TSM's side. But I'm actually looking at Dokla. Got an early Lord's Dominic regard after the Maul of Malmortius to make sure there's not going to be that assassination possibility out of Viper, but also he is going to be able to waste away Hyper, despite the fact that that is the front line you normally would want to rely on.
I think it's a smart move from Dokla, and also the lethality and percent armor pen. They complement each other.
Well, and it's Eclipse
so
too. You get the armor pen from that as well.
Yeah, the flat, the percentage. You know, Dokla going for the wombo combos here on the Graves as, I mean, not to mention the pocketbook that Dokla has, is both him and Prismal so incredibly farmed this game, and I think that's really the way that CLG have been playing with and around sides. Every time they get a side wave shoved, look at this, Palafox crashes this, they spot takeover. Now what does Palafox do? Take over that bot side jungle. Make sure that if anyone shows on this mid wave, they get poked down. And keep in mind, Instinct did this in game 1, but now taking a step back, game 2, realizing how dark that side of the jungle is, what the map state is. There's some better understanding in TSM in this one, but still find themselves very far behind and very much behind the 8-ball as CLG. I think this next Mountain Dragon is going to be the next big fight we see as CLG doesn't look too keen on starting up this Baron. And TSM, they're now staring down Mountain Soul, so they have to fight.
Well, and that's the whole idea for CLG, is to bait TSM into them. It's more of a front-to-back competition out of TSM, with Viper being a side lane tool, being someone who could easily flank, and if he's not able to set up that flank, well then suddenly you don't have to worry about that Akali diving onto Prismal, killing him immediately. Instead, you can have Palafox, you can have Dokla themselves be the ones to flank Instinct and take this Jinx completely out.
That is an option. I think the poke that they've been doing, just the very non-committal stuff, has been really strong as well.
There's a lot. There's a lot
Magical.
going well for CLG.
Yeah.
It's like there were some mistakes earlier on, but they've slowed down this game to a pace that they can control, that they don't have to worry about. And even though they haven't been able to find the exact kills, they've been forcing people out of lanes. Right here, Viper, he's going for the all-in onto Palafox, but it's a nice juke back in, but shut down for Viper onto Palafox.
That was beautifully played by Viper as Palafox, went back to dodge out on the back foot, but Viper just able to fully combo LeBlanc down, and Viper once again able to find a play, try and get himself and his team back in this game, as Viper is really the one making sure that this game continues to extend in time, keeps on making the plays to buy his team the time that they need to scale. And this should net a turret as well, which objective bounty for TSM.
And see, the thing is, Palafox, he thought maybe it would be Takeover trying to answer him in the side lane, forgetting that it's been a while now since that TP had been used by Viper. It's back up. They've got that advantage where they can send Viper into the side lanes. 4, 2, and 1 now on this Akali. Has completed the Void Staff, so even if you try to start up this bait to get Viper in there, you have to deal with the fact that he can TP in to any situation.
This is interesting from CLG. So they take over the Baron side of the map 40 seconds before Dragon. Keep in mind, this is Mountain Soul for them. Off reset, TSM are kind of calling the bluff of CLG. They didn't even check that top side. They don't see any members of CLG right now. They said they must have backed reset for this Soul fight. As we did see beforehand, Rosethorn trade his ult for the flash of Yurson. So wondering if that's now an area that CLG is going to try and attack, as we have the setup coming out. Viper eats the hook, but Viper's really tanky at this point on the Akali with the Shadow Flame. Almost at 3k HP.
He's perfectly fine, but they're going to be able to get the damage out of your son. He's got an even shroud. He goes golden to be able to survive. Take over around the other side, fighting against Oakley. They got exhausted. They got the collateral damage to pick up the kill. They got to be careful, though, because Yurson's low. They no longer have that extra damage they get from the even shroud. They could maybe steal it. Hyper, can you pull off a miracle like you did yesterday? Try to steal away the Mountain Dragon, deny another soul from another team. You got Flash available if you want to be able to get into the pit. He's used that Scryer's Bloom to get vision, but CLG are just baiting it out. They're waiting their time, and now they've got the soul.
The patience from them there was so nice, just making sure that every vision tool was burned by the side of TSM so that they had no information to even try and steal that dragon. So it will be Soul going over to CLG, and they immediately shift their focus over to the Baron. Still have a man advantage, but Takeover does have TP when he respawns here in 12 seconds. CLG, they have started this. Instinct's a pretty long way away. Can Instinct even get here in time to contest?
No, they could always try. The rocket's been sent out to scout. They're going to be able to see it down to 50%. Hyper's got to be able to get into the pit. He's got that blast cone right there. The TP coming in from Takeover to be able to join the fight. Viper still, though, he's far away. You got to get in the pit. It's going to be secured by Rosethorn with the death going over as well. The re-engage Rosethorn on a Takeover. He's gone. It's a double kill. They might make it a triple kill with how low Viper is right now. Just one more pull. They can get one more kill for Palafox with Instinct so low as well. Chased down by Prismal, puts down the choppers, but he is dead. He has no escape there at all. Neither does Yurison. Prismal wants that ace to end this game. Another 2-0 in the books for CLG, even though Yurison does his damnedest to keep the game going on longer. Look at how much Prismal can heal up with the help of the minions. Yurison gives a thumbs up because he knows it's not okay. And this game, this series, this split is CLG Academies.
And we're going to have to see now if 100 Thieves is going to still be on top of the leaderboard with them, as CLG with a 4-0 weekend now only have one loss to their name through 2 weeks of Academy, and the style they're doing it in Mad Magical is so fun to watch. They're playing sides beautifully, playing with Prio beautifully, and CLG are winning Academy with aggression.
They are a great and fun team to watch this year. If you weren't a fan before, you better be a fan now, because this team is on fire.
And I mean, the style they're doing this in, right? The game 2 of both games this weekend, 0 TPs on the team. Yeah, they had a stand united, but no TPs this game. The faith that they have in Dokla and Palafox to have leads in the soul lanes, make use out of those combat summoners, and then not make mistakes by overextending and falling victim to TP plays as the games exceed. This is a really unique strategy that we're seeing. I know that when they changed the TP initially, a lot of people were kind of interested if we would see more combat sums come back. CLG playing with these combat sums, I mean, they're making these strategies work for them, making it fit in their style, and it's giving them early leads, and what they're doing with those leads is winning games.
It's fun to watch. Palafox looks good on that LeBlanc.
It's different.
Dokla still strong in the top lane. Viper even had a great game this time, but it didn't matter. They were able to get so much control on the map despite not having those TPs.
And in order to do this, you pretty much have to win both solo lanes, right? And I know that Rosethorn, like coming into the split, said, I like being aggressive, and the fact that I have good solo lanes really helps with that. Yeah. And they're enabling those solo lanes to make sure that they have prio by playing around these TP timers, but it takes a lot of coordination to make sure that you're still getting good resets without TP. It takes a lot of coordination to make sure that you get leads and you're not falling victim to those plays we kind of already highlighted. And CLG are making all those things that you have to navigate, being down those cross-map plays. They're making those things look really easy to play with and play around. So I've been very impressed with CLG's play and the style they're winning early in the season, and hopefully we get to hear from themselves, as I know that we're about to head out for our first series and hopefully hear from the winning team.
Hopefully we will. We're going to toss a break when we come back. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that we get a nice interview, so don't go anywhere. We'll be here.